Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the very first podcast. I am so excited and have so much gratitude for you sharing this space with me today for this conversation. As I mentioned in my welcome episode, my name is Cass. I am a holistic mentor for shadow work, inner child healing, and intuitive development, as well as a professional energy healer sharing the beautiful modality of Reiki. I want to open a space that is thought-provoking, where you can access discernment and you can decide what lands for you and what you would love to explore further with those in your presence and in your own circle. I know the power just one conversation can have on someone's life, and I am so excited to see how everything and hear how everything lands for you. If you want to know more about myself, my offers, or what to expect here, you can find me on my socials, or you can also find more details in the show notes below. Today's session is all about connecting with and healing the inner child and really diving into what this actually means, because I do feel there is a big disconnection from the background knowledge of the actual processes of inner child healing and what that looks like and what's actually involved and what the purpose of your inner child actually is. So if you're someone who really loves to understand the nitty-gritty of the inner work that you are doing, this session is going to be so great for you, because I really unravel what is actually occurring in inner child healing. So to set the scene, I really first today wanted to begin with who your inner child actually is and how they came to be such an important part of your life. So I love to refer to a process called the 7 foundational years of development. And this refers to those initial years of human life existence, where as children we learn our inner definition of safety, love, nourishment, care, danger, and connection from those around us. And we become a byproduct of our experiences, of our teachings, of our loved ones, and those who are really shaping our community of connection and those experiences around us in those times. I really want to emphasize that whilst we become that byproduct, we have the ability to make informed decisions and have this awareness to make changes and reframe our mindset. We also step into a time where our inner child is starting to add more depth to the mindset and mentality that has been influenced to them in those foundational years. And so our inner child is those foundational core beliefs, emotions, feelings, and experiences from that point of our life. It is the core foundation of the signals within our body, within our being. It's almost like a sub-personality in a way that determines all of the signals of how we should feel with our emotions, how we should react with our behaviors, how we should respond to things. It is all the data that we have about human life existence and how to actually interact in the world. This core part of our inner child only changes when we decide to reframe the mindset or heal the mindset and the experiences and the stored emotional trauma. So we actually have the ability to store unprocessed trauma within our body, which manifests so many different things. It can manifest physical injury, illness, disease, sleep issues, but we do actually have the tools to be able to rewind this stored emotion and this stored trauma within the body and really heal ourselves. So when we're talking about healing ourselves, we're talking about reframing the mindset to something that's more healthy and that actually lands for us and feels true to us. And it's also about healing the stored emotions and trauma that is within our physical vessel as well and releasing that. So we are doing some physical healing as well, not just mindset. And my passion really stems in holistic healing, which is really focusing on mind, body, and spirit. And when you take care of all 3 of these systems in one go and look at it as a whole, you get so much more depth to your healing journey. So the purpose of your inner child really in those first 7 years is to gather and explore as much as possible and If you look at the 7 years of foundational development of our chakra system, it does actually talk about what it is that our inner child is exploring in every single year. So in our first year of development, it's really exploring safety and stability and defining that. And that's where you have that separation anxiety and really learning to understand that mom and dad actually come back when they go away. And you have in those ongoing years, different lessons that our inner child gathers and then stores within the body as signals to serve us for life. This also is connected to our emotions and teaching us how to react and respond with our emotions and how to feel with the core language that is used towards us, with the energy that we are surrounded by, with someone's tonality and their conversation towards us. It's really this massive big data collection held within our personality, of this sub-personality of our childlike self. So we really withhold that fragile state of being very hypersensitive to our surroundings within our inner child, because at that point in our life, we are extremely open to receiving in our channels as much as possible. We want to and desire to, in those years, receive as much knowledge and awareness as we can to assist our ego in then deciding how to keep us safe, in then deciding how reliable and predictable other people are, in then deciding what is right, what is wrong, in deciding how we should and shouldn't respond to people, in deciding who we are and aren't safe with, how to make a friendship, what a positive friendship looks like, what is okay for other people to respond to us with, how our family system looks, who is connected to who, and what is normal and what is not normal. This is all of the data that our inner child is gathering in those first 7 years, and we become that byproduct of our surroundings with that information. From here into our teenage years, this further solidifies based off those original beliefs. So our body and our inner child looks to solidify that. We are focusing our energy towards finding things that make that feel true, that build self-inner trust towards the beliefs that we have been taught or that have been role modeled towards us, whether they are healthy or not. This is where we can actually start to foster our wounds deeper and start to ingrain them into our personality, because at these ages, we are starting to question things. We are starting to really think for ourselves, but we can also, based off our wounds, start to distrust our own path of thinking and our own thought processes as well, based on our surroundings. So when it comes to healing the inner child, what we're actually doing is we're working with both the inner child and the data collection that was within that personality of ourselves and that energetic space within ourselves and our ego. And I'd like to look at these two individual components of our body, that we have our human and then we have our ego, and they're almost like a CEO of our body who steps in and out of control when they feel like we might be walking into dangerous territory or unpredictable territory, and they like to make all the rules. And then we have our inner child, which is much more like our feminine side. So we've got like our inner child, and then our ego is more our masculine. Our ego likes to take control, and our inner child just really responds and reacts to things and really processes everything and really stores a lot of that information as personal responses or attacks or affirmations and validation and encouragement and empowerment. And our inner child is so receptive of everything that they take everything so literally that it can really affect our surface level energy. It can really affect the way in which we are feeling, the way in which we respond and react to people. And this is by triggering that ego into feeling like we need to protect ourselves in certain situations and conversations where maybe we're fearing resentment or judgment or abandonment or neglect from someone, and or maybe we're going to manipulate conversation to feel like we have this sense, like this false sense of connection to them. So our inner child really plays out in so many ways. And I teach this on a really deep level within a masterclass called Wounded. I really encourage you to check it out. And we go into how the ego works and how the inner child works. But when it comes to inner child healing, what I want to leave you with today is this awareness and understanding that your inner child can be retaught. Your inner child was not necessarily taught with the most reliable resources. Those limiting beliefs that you hold within yourself, it is time to question where they stemmed from. It is time to question whether or not you are living your own vision or you're living someone else's limiting beliefs. It is time to question what you believe about yourself, the negative things that you believe about yourself, the positive things that you believe about yourself. It's time to question what is still true for you, what is still valid, what still lands, what still serves a purpose for you. Because you now have the power to decide what does and doesn't ring true for you. And this can heal a lot in the connections around you by starting to actually break away at everything and start to really define the true you. Start to really recognize your own needs, recognize where there may have been disconnection, recognize where there may have been distrust, and recognize where it's all stems from, and really do that inner work to make yourself a more empowered and safe space for yourself. Create the best resource out of yourself that you can, and allow yourself to free this stagnant, stored emotions from your past that is really not serving you any benefit at all. And if anything, could actually be sabotaging your connections through compiling a whole heap of stories and opinions that were never factual in the first place, that were never actually there to serve you in the best way possible, but were actually passed on through someone else's limiting beliefs, fear, or awareness. Today's podcast is a really short one because I really just want to take this moment to express and explain who that inner child is. And I now just quickly want to touch on connecting with your inner child and a little bit on how to do so. So I am someone who facilitates inner child healings. I also facilitate women's circles where I go through and have meditations that allow a subconscious connection to the inner child. You can connect to your inner child in so many ways. You have the options of journaling. You have the options of speaking aloud verbally. You have the options of meditation. You have the options of writing scripted letters to your inner child. There are so many ways to connect in with them. You can use Reiki and energy healing to tap into that space within yourself, to really release that stagnation from them, to allow them to continue being receiving, and to release, mindset processes that no longer resonate with your inner child. And you can really share that level of compassion with that version of yourself from that time, remembering that your inner child truly is at the age capacity of 7. That is at where their, level of maturity remained. And they are very much like their own individual person within you, that you can connect with that part of yourself. You can have a conversation with them and feel physical changes within your body when you connect with them. It is so important to recognize them as a very vital part of yourself, because they are. They're a vital part of your thought processes, of your emotions, of your reactions. They are a huge part of you. And there are so many resources to be able to tap into them, connect with them. Meditation is an amazing one because you can channel through to them and get guidance from deeper within yourself and clarity on where your inner child doesn't feel heard or seen. And you can really help clear conversations with your inner child from when you were in those younger years that have been held onto as core memories, where you didn't have a safe space to be able to process those different situations and experiences for yourself. You can save yourself. Instead of looking externally, you can take the time to be your own safe soundboard. I really encourage you from today to ask yourself, what is it that you feel you can't do? What do you feel you're not capable of? And where did you form that belief system? I want you to really look within yourself and ask yourself, where do you feel like you're not in your full expression? Where do you feel like you're not fully being seen or heard? Where do you feel like you're holding back and playing small? This is just the surface level, but there is so much that can be gained just by starting in this space. And I am so excited that you have listened this far, and I cannot wait to hear what you do with this awareness and this information. If you would like to dive deeper into some of my classes, you can find them on my website. I have got classes for healing sister wounds. I have got classes for healing your inner child wounds. I've got classes for becoming a safe space. I have got so many classes on there, and I cannot wait to welcome you into those spaces. Thank you so much for being present with me today.